Namaskaram. It's been a long time. I made a video, something about the spiritual and esoteric aspect of spirituality and mysticism. Today, I would like to discuss a little bit about the flag of Nepal. I don't want to go too much into the history and a lot of aspects because most of the things that we read in the history books and everything may not always be accurate in nature, and because of that reason, people has interpreted, and that's how misinformation has actually is been spread out to a majority of the people. So basically, if you didn't know, in the ancient times, only the Kathmandu Valley was known as the Nepal. And after many years, the unification by the King Prithvinarayan Shah, you can say that the modern Nepal started to take shape, and that's how how we know as the modern Nepal. That's how it is. If we go back to cultural aspects and then the architecture level that is available in Nepal, mostly in Kathmandu Valley, and other aspects, we can actually see that the Nepalese flag, the current Nepalese flag, has been borrowed from the flags from the temples. You can go and then you can find there are various flags, Nepalese flag in the form of kappa. So what is the significance of this with respect to the spirituality? I think people who have been following the Kriya Yoga, or they have studied a little bit about the energy dynamics within our energy system, there are a majority of the three major channels, energy channels, which are known as the Ida, Pingala, and then the Sushumna. So basically the Nepalese flag, if you see, and if you look into the history and then the background of the temples in the Kathmandu Valley, almost all the temples are tantric in nature, which basically means it has to do with energies, occult, and everything. So if we look from the spiritual context, the two dynamics of the solar and lunar, or the Pingala and Ida, or male and female aspects of the nature, which is found in the dual nature. The solar, or the Pingala, is the sun, which is basically more gross in nature compared to the other aspects. And there is the Ida, or the lunar aspect, or the moon, which is more subtler. And as the Sadhguru mentions, that the subtler aspect is far more closer to the divine nature. Not closest, but still compared to both. So I think because of that reason, when these people who actually invented this flag, and we don't actually know the color of these flags initially, but some of the oldest picture, what we see is the flag is red in color without any blue border that we can actually see today. So basically this is a tantric flag, in which the lower part represents the solar aspect of it, the right half of us, the Pingala, and then the lunar aspect, or the moon, or the Ida aspect, is basically the feminine aspect of it. Without the masculine and feminine, the nature cannot exist. And now, what is the significance of this? So basically, the order on which the lunar is on the top and then the solar on the bottom is basically, although sun nourishes us all the time, but if you know, the Nepalese also uses a lunar calendar, or Bikram Sambat calendar, which is predominantly based on the phases of the moon. So they found out that the moon actually has got more impact on how the body actually responds based on the moon phases. And we all know that like the feminine or the woman body is influenced by, or is actually in sync with the moon cycles, that is around like 28 days. So Nepal being mostly tantric rituals and everything, they understood all these kind of aspects. So they used the sun and then the moon. There are many interpretations. I didn't want to go into that. Whatever I'm saying, you can agree or disagree on that one, but this is my understanding, and like based on the way it is going on, it's must be this way. So basically, but it doesn't really mean that like a masculine means a man and then the feminine means the female. It's not like that, because the masculine and feminine are the aspects of the same body, because we are actually the combination, the result of the masculine and feminine energy. Because of that reason, we are existing here. Now, what about the third aspect, the Sushumna? So if you look from the Vedic perspective or the ancient way, what we see is the fire. The fire is actually represented with the orange or the red also in some places. So basically, the triangular form is actually shown as the fire. That is what the the saffron flag also represents, and it has nothing to do with the group of people or how people represent the race or anything, ethnic group or something like that. It's not like that. The fire element is represented by the Sushumna. The Sushumna actually represents the fire element. So basically, you have got two aspects of it, the solar and then the lunar and then the fire in the middle. So only when the solar and lunar become balanced, only then the Sushumna can rise, and that is the main objective of that. That's why both the sun and then the moon are actually in the lunar, not the lunar, but in the fire element. And if you know that like when we are referring to fire element, we are not actually referring to the fire as a fire, but actually the heat element or the degree of heat. So when the masculine and feminine is equanimous within us, then the divinity will rise. I think this is the reminder of this flag. Namaskar.